November 12, 1942, Western Desert, North Africa. The sun blazed over the Libyan desert, turning the sand into a shimmering furnace. Near a smoldering British supply column, wrecked by a Panzer III's shells, a lone American vehicle sat abandoned, its olive-drab paint streaked with dust. Its crew had fled when Rommel's Afrika Korps overran their position, leaving the machine to the mercy of the desert. Oberfeldwebel Hans Müller, a grizzled mechanic with the 15th Panzer Division's reconnaissance unit, squinted at the squat, boxy vehicle. Standard Wehrmacht procedure called for torching enemy equipment, but Hauptmann Klaus Weber, the unit's commander, had other ideas. "Get our best mechanic," he barked, wiping sweat from his brow. "I want to know if we can use this thing." Müller, 38, with hands calloused from 2 decades of wrenching German vehicles, approached the machine. A small placard on the dash read, "Willys MB." The Americans called it a Jeep. What he and his team discovered in the next 30 minutes would upend everything they believed about German engineering superiority. The realization wasn't a thunderbolt, but a creeping dread, growing with each bolt turned, each component inspected. The Jeep wasn't just a vehicle, it was a manifesto of American industrial might, a machine that exposed the Wehrmacht vulnerabilities and foreshadowed Germany's defeat. The Desert War's brutal arithmetic. By late 1942, the Afrika Korps were stretched to breaking. Rommel's lightning advances had stalled, choked by overstretched supply lines and Montgomery's resurgent 8th Army. German vehicles, Volkswagen Kübelwagens, Opel Blitz trucks, SDKF half-tracks, were marvels of engineering but logistical nightmares. Spare parts were scarce, fuel rarer still. In the desert's soft sand, vehicles bogged down, radiators boiled, and complex systems failed under abuse. The Kübelwagen, Ferdinand Porsche's brainchild, was lightweight and fuel-efficient, its air-cooled engine immune to radiator damage. But its rear-wheel drive faltered in dunes, and its bespoke parts required skilled mechanics, a luxury the Afrika Korps couldn't afford. Allied vehicles, increasingly American, were flooding the desert. Lend-Lease supplied the British with Dodge trucks, M3 half-tracks and Jeeps, which appeared in growing numbers after the U.S. entered the war. Wehrmacht intelligence reports, based on hasty battlefield observations, dismissed American equipment as crude, mass-produced junk. But captured vehicles told a different story. Müller's team, tasked with assessing the Jeep, was about to uncover a truth that propaganda couldn't hide. American engineering wasn't inferior, it was ruthlessly practical, designed for a war Germany was ill-equipped to fight.
The Jeep's ingenious simplicity. Müller popped the Jeep's hood, expecting a mess of shoddy craftsmanship. Instead, he found an immaculate engine bay. The Willys Go Devil, a 134 cubic inch inline-4, produced a modest 60 horsepower at 4,000 RPM, underpowered compared to German engines. But its design was a revelation. Color-coded wires, clearly labeled components, and accessible parts screamed simplicity. Every bolt was standard, every part interchangeable, designed for mass production and field repairs. Müller, who'd wrestled with the Kübelwagen's finicky torsion bars and bespoke fittings, was stunned. "This was built for a farm boy with a wrench," he muttered to his assistant, Gefreiter Karl Schmidt. The Go Devil wasn't a performance king. It didn't need to be. It was reliable, running on low-grade gasoline without complaint. Its cooling system, with a robust radiator and simple hoses, was easy to patch. The electrical system, a basic 6-volt setup, resisted dust and heat. Müller removed a spark plug with a standard wrench, no specialized tools needed, unlike the Kübelwagen's proprietary fasteners. In 20 years of servicing German vehicles, he'd never seen such thoughtful design for wartime realities. The 4-wheel drive system was another shock. A single lever engaged the transfer case, switching from 2-wheel to 4-wheel drive in seconds. The Kübelwagen, rear-wheel drive only, required careful driving in sand. Most German vehicles lacked 4-wheel drive entirely. The Jeep's low-range gearing let it crawl over rocks at walking speed. Its 2,450-pound frame, 910 pounds heavier than the Kübelwagen, built to endure abuse. German engineers would have scoffed at the extra weight, prioritizing fuel efficiency. But Müller saw the method. Durability trumped economy. The Jeep's overbuilt frame and leaf spring suspension, crude compared to the Kübelwagens torsion bars, could take a beating and keep rolling. Testing the Jeep's mettle. Weber ordered the Jeep brought to their forward position near Al Alamein. Over 3 days, Müller's team pushed it to its limits. They drove it through soft sand where Kübelwagens spun uselessly, loaded it with 1,000 pounds of gear, double its rated capacity, and rammed it over rocks. The Jeep shrugged it off. In low range, it clawed through dunes, its 4.881-to-1 axle ratio delivering torque where German vehicles stalled. Müller tested the clutch, expecting it to burn out under strain. It held firm. The fuel system digested contaminated gasoline without stalling, a stark contrast to the Kübelwagen's finicky carburetor. Word spread. Officers from the 21st Panzer Division arrived skeptical but curious. Lieutenant Friedrich Braun, a former Mercedes-Benz engineer, spent hours under the Jeep. This isn't engineering for awards, it's engineering for war. They've sacrificed precision for production. He pointed to the stamped metal body panels, rough compared to German machined parts. These can be churned out by a refrigerator factory. Our vehicles need skilled craftsmen. They're building these with farmhands. The Jeep's performance was a wake-up call. In sand, where Kübelwagens required momentum and finesse, the Jeep powered through with brute reliability. Its 7.00 to 16 tires wider than German equivalents gripped terrain better. The suspension absorbed shocks that would snap a Kübelwagen's axles. Braun's assessment was blunt. We build for perfection, they build for reality. In total war, reality wins.
The Afrika Korps' growing dismay. The Jeep became a minor celebrity in the 15th Panzer Division. Soldiers clamored to drive it, officers used it for reconnaissance, trusting its reliability over their own vehicles. When a clutch plate wore out, Müller scavenged a replacement from a wrecked Jeep 50 miles away. Identical, no modifications needed. By early 1943, the Afrika Korps had captured dozens of Jeeps, spawning an informal network of mechanics sharing parts and know-how. A black market emerged, with Jeeps fetching triple the price of Kübelwagens. It's worth its weight in fuel, Weber quipped, half joking. The implications were grim. American factories produced 640,000 Jeeps during the war. Germany managed 52,000 Kübelwagens. The U.S. churned out 2 million military vehicles in 1943 alone, while Germany's total output, trucks, cars, and half-tracks, was under 100,000. Ford's Willow Run plant built a B-24 Liberator every 63 minutes. Kaiser's shipyards launched Liberty ships in weeks. Wehrmacht intelligence, analyzing captured reports, estimated U.S. vehicle production outstripped the Axis combined by 3-to-1 in 1942, rising to 5-to-1 by 1943. The Jeep was a microcosm of this disparity. Simple, reliable, producible by semi-skilled workers on assembly lines retooled from civilian plants. At a briefing in February 1943, Braun presented his findings to senior officers. The Jeep's engine block is cast, not machined to fine tolerances. They lose 5% performance but gain 50% production speed. Every part is standardized: bolts, wires, fittings. One factory can supply a dozen divisions. General Major Hans Kramer, listening silently, frowned. German engineering is the finest in the world. Müller, present but silent, gestured to the Jeep parked outside. Finest, sir, but not fastest. They're outbuilding us 10-to-1. Surrender and revelation. On May 13, 1943, the Afrika Korps surrendered in Tunisia. Over 250,000 German and Italian troops, including Müller's unit, became prisoners. As they were marched to captivity, the scale of Allied logistics hit hard. American Dodge WWII 51 trucks, each carrying 20 men, rolled in convoys stretching miles. Liberty ships, built in 5-6 weeks, ferried prisoners across the Atlantic.
At Oran, Algeria, Müller watched a U.S. motor pool operate with chilling efficiency. Dozens of Jeeps, GMC trucks, and M3 half-tracks lined the depot, serviced by young GIs, some barely 20, with minimal training. Tools were plentiful, parts stacked in crates, manuals written for basic literacy. A U.S. sergeant, noticing Müller's interest, struck up a conversation. "You a mechanic?" Müller nodded. "Afrika Korps, vehicle maintenance." The sergeant, Jim O'Connor, grinned. "No war for you now, but I'll show you around." He walked Müller through the motor pool, explaining the American approach. "We designed for guys who've never seen an engine. Color-coded wires, standard bolts, manuals a kid can read. If it breaks, anyone can fix it. We've got so many Jeeps, we don't repair them right away. Just grab another." Müller examined a disassembled Jeep engine. Every component was marked, every procedure illustrated in a manual clearer than any German equivalent. "How many do you build?" he asked. O'Connor shrugged. "Thousands a week. Willys and Ford churn them out like candy. One plant goes down, the other keeps going. Parts fit either way." Müller's mind reeled. The Wehrmacht's vehicle inventory, Kübelwagens, Opel trucks, and captured French Renaults was a patchwork of incompatible systems. American logistics were a symphony of uniformity.
The prisoner's education. The journey to U.S. prison camps continued Müller's education. At Norfolk, Virginia, cranes unloaded cargo at speeds unimaginable in Hamburg. Trains carried prisoners across America in coaches that dwarfed German railcars. Depot yards brimmed with vehicles, jeeps, trucks, tanks, awaiting shipment to Europe. At Camp Hearn, Texas, Müller volunteered for the motor pool, joining other German mechanics. American commanders, desperate for skilled labor, welcomed them. Müller worked alongside GIs like Private Tom Reynolds, a former Ford worker. Reynolds, 22, had built B-24s at Willow Run. "Biggest factory in the world," he boasted. "One bomber an hour, 24 a day." Jeeps are the same deal. Willys and Ford use identical specs. A bolt from one fits the other. We train a guy in a week to assemble an engine. Müller compared this to German factories, where skilled craftsmen took months to master Kübelwagen production. American mass production broke tasks into simple, repeatable steps, enabling semi-skilled workers to churn out vehicles at staggering rates. The motor pool processed 200 vehicles monthly: Jeeps, Dodge trucks, M3 half-tracks, all using common parts. A broken Jeep was back in service in hours, not days. If unrepairable, it was cannibalized, a replacement arriving within days. Müller marveled at the parts room. Crates of spark plugs, filters, belts, all interchangeable. German motor pools, crippled by shortages, waited weeks for bespoke components. "You don't fix for perfection," Müller noted. Reynolds laughed. "Perfection's for peacetime. We keep 'em running, period." The war's turning tide. By summer 1944, news of D-Day filtered into Camp Hearn. The Normandy invasion, 6,000 ships, 11,000 aircraft, 150,000 men, relied on American vehicles. 50,000 Jeeps in the first wave alone, ferried by landing craft built in months. Müller read Stars and Stripes, detailing convoys of GMC trucks and M4 Shermans rolling across France. The Wehrmacht, reliant on 1.1 million horses, couldn't match this mobility. German divisions crawled at 30 kilometers daily, American units covered 200. In December 1944, rumors of the Ardennes offensive, Otto Skorzeny's commando mission, used captured Jeeps to infiltrate Allied lines. Müller saw the irony. Germany's elite, reduced to relying on American vehicles for lack of their own. The offensive failed, starved of fuel. Panzer IVs sat abandoned, their tanks dry, while Allied Jeeps zipped through snow, supplying troops. By April 1945, Germany surrendered.
Müller, working in the motor pool, nodded grimly at the news. "We never had a chance, not against your factories," he told Reynolds. Post-war reconstruction. Repatriated to Bremen in January 1946, Müller found a city in ruins. American jeeps patrolled the streets, delivering aid. He approached a U.S. motor pool, offering his skills. Oberfeldwebel, Afrika Korps. 2 years at Camp Herne maintaining your jeeps. The captain hired him on the spot. Müller worked alongside German civilians, servicing the same vehicles he'd fought against. He trained young mechanics, emphasizing American lessons: simplicity, standardization, reliability. "Forget perfection," he'd say. "Build what works, fast." By 1947, Müller supervised the motor pool's civilian staff. Over drinks, the captain asked, "What would a German Jeep look like?" Müller replied, "Smaller, fuel-efficient for Europe's roads, but built like yours, standard parts, easy to fix, mass-producible." The Marshall Plan fueled Germany's rebirth, with American aid delivered by GMC trucks and coordinated with industrial efficiency. Volkswagen, reborn from Kübelwagen roots, adopted American methods. The Beetle, launched in 1945, embodied this: simple, reliable, producible by the millions.
The Jeep's lasting legacy. The Jeep's impact transcended the battlefield. By 1950, West Germany's Wirtschaftswunder took off. Volkswagen produced 100,000 Beetles annually. Mercedes-Benz and BMW adopted assembly line techniques. Müller, now a Volkswagen engineer, helped design the Type 2 van, blending German precision with American standardization. The Jeep's philosophy, design for manufacture, prioritize reliability, shaped global automotive trends. By 1976, Volkswagen's Golf hit 1 million units, a testament to this hybrid approach. U.S. Army historian Hugh M. Cole noted that Wehrmacht generals admired the Jeep above all Allied equipment. General George C. Marshall called it America's greatest wartime contribution. Its 640,000 units dwarfed the Kübelwagen's 52,000, symbolizing a production gap Germany couldn't close. The U.S. published TM-E-9803, a Kübelwagen manual, on D-Day 1944, enabling GIs to use captured vehicles. The Wehrmacht never bothered with a Jeep manual; its simplicity needed no explanation. At a 1967 Afrika Korps reunion, veterans gathered around a restored Willys Jeep. Müller, now 63, touched its hood. "We captured one in '42. Best vehicle I drove. Simpler than our Kübelwagen, but unbeatable in war." Another veteran added, "They built 600,000. We made 50,000 Kübelwagens." That was the war in numbers. The Jeep, a museum piece by 1998, stood as a symbol of American might. Not just a vehicle, but a lesson in functional design. Lessons from defeat. The Jeep taught humility. Wehrmacht mechanics expecting German superiority found a vehicle that outperformed their own in combat's chaos. Its four-wheel drive conquered sand. Its parts universality simplified logistics. Its durability absorbed abuse. American factories, leveraging interchangeable parts and semi-skilled labor, outproduced Germany 20-1 in vehicles. The Wehrmacht's 2.75 million horses couldn't match motorized Allied divisions. Müller, reflecting in 1970, wrote in his journal, "The Jeep showed us our air. We built for quality. They built for quantity and function. In war, function wins." Post-war Germany internalized this. Volkswagen, Mercedes, BMW synthesized American efficiency with German precision, creating an economic miracle. The Jeep's legacy, standardization, simplicity, reliability, lives in every modern vehicle. From a Libyan desert in 1942 to Bremen's motor pools, it reshaped a nation, proving that defeat, humbling as it was, could forge a better future.